Hello, this is man making to my Rant review. I'm talking about, well, I almost forgot to mention this, considering this is the only thing I gave a teaser for, and I forgot to do it, so that's a pretty annoying. But sorry about that. So this is what I called Abominable Christmas. Although I think it's called a different title. When I watched it, it was called something like it was called something like a, what was it? A Merry Christmas? Something really bland. But it makes a lot more sense to be called an Abominable Christmas. Because it's about abominable snowmen or whatever. Or basically Yetis. It's about Yetis. And it's basically a family of Yetis. A father, a daughter, and a son are exploring, like the daughter and the son are wandering around outside the town in the middle of the snow. And she's all dead excited and wants to know about the humans, and he's afraid. I'm like, yeah, can you see where this is going? Yeah, it's a 3D animated thing. The 3D animation, by the way, is okay, but in some parts of it are rather wrong, and you'll see what I mean later. But basically, the Yetis, they have this conversation about how the humans are scary and how they have hurt them before, and the father says family is important, blah blah blah. And get all those morals out the way quick. And the morals aren't really mentioned again, so it really is just get them out the window quick. So the father says stay safe, and obviously they completely ignore him and go over to the human world anyway, and they pretend to be dogs. How do they do this? By putting some socks on their ears or something stupid? I mean, that would make some sort of sense, but no, they just walk on their four legs, like, there you go, that's good enough. I'm like, how the hell is that good enough disguise? Surely it should just be like, this is no dog I've ever seen, you know what I mean? This dog has hands, you know? So it's sort of like, yeah. And they immediately blow their cover, because they go over to this family where this father is always busy on the phone, and the child likes dogs, so brings them in thinking they're dogs, because a stupid kid anyway. And the other kid is a teenager and is always on the laptop, not paying attention. So the younger kid goes over to these dogs and goes, oh, let me let them in, and the parent goes, well, okay, because he's too busy. So he lets these things in which he thinks are dogs, and then they speak immediately. So then she goes, oh God, and finds out that they're Yetis, and they have some kind of filler party. They do some kind of creepy dancing, which made me laugh a bit, especially when the father dances. Oh God. And this is where the creepy animation comes in, because the dance is pretty hilarious. Also, this kid's eyeballs, blimey, when you see this kid, you'll just be like, oh my God, she's terrifying. Especially considering the first time you see her, it's like a close-up as well. So you're like, ugh, as soon as she appears. So, yeah. So, I'll show you a picture of her. I'll probably have a picture up, like, this whole time on this review. Just have a picture of her horrible face. You had to stare at that the entire audio recording, because that's the kind of experience that this thing is. Like, but most of the dialogue is okay and rather well voice acted. And there's some kind of famous voice actor that does the villain. The villain is some crazy woman who thinks that, who's seen the Yeti before and wants to prove that they exist. So she's trying to find the Yetis and capture them. So she's the typical villain character. The kind that's dead quirky and is really methodical about the way she's trying to capture them, and is dead sly and sneaky and trying to manipulate people. She's that kind of villain. So they're kind of typical, the kind of thing which you'd expect, rather cliche. And the father doesn't know who she is and doesn't really take any shit from her. He's like, yeah, go away, you crazy woman. So none of that works. Then the father finds out, I think the next thing happens is that the father finds out that, the villain woman goes over to the dog pound to see if there are any dogs there, to see if the Yetis have been captured as dogs or something, and find out that she has to fill in a bunch of paperwork or something. It's some kind of long joke that's pointless. I don't know. And oh yeah, the father tries to I remember now. The father tries to rescue them by also pretending to be a dog, like a giant, massive dog human. I'm like, yeah, this is not suspicious at all. But he pretends to be a dog as well, to try and find them as he finds out that they've been trapped in there, and he gets captured when the kids haven't, because the kids are in the house, protected by the father. And he wasn't. Got dog caught by the dog catcher and put in the jail cell. So now, meanwhile, the villain's trying to get this Yeti character that's in the dog cell, and she can't because she's not allowed to, because of the laws or something. Then they find their father, and the father finds the kids, and they dress up the father guy as Santa Claus, and I'm like, Santa Claus is an even worse disguise for a Yeti than a dog. But somehow this works as well, because kid movie logic. And oh yeah, there's also like a point where they mention, for some reason at one point, they mention that their mother's dead on both of their families. And for some reason the mother's picture is 2D when all the rest of it's 3D, which makes no sense, but okay. And they have this conversation about the parents being dead, which I guess is sweet, but sort of like, it came out of nowhere, so you're sort of like, okay. Not really much emotion. So then this Yeti talks to some kids, and there's some awkward humour and also some emotional shit. You know, the typical cliche stuff, and bloody hell, this father's creepy. I'm looking at these clips now. And basically, they basically at the end, she finds out, she tries to adopt the Yeti people, or something like that. She tries to adopt the Yeti people from the dog centre so she can get them, or tries to get proof of them or something, to prove the scientists or something. And then they find out that there's some kind of law, which means that she can't do it, because they adopt them first or something in order to protect them. And I think that's the end of the story. So that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, the father gets caught with the Yeti in the prison as well at some point. So I'm sort of like, yeah, and at the end she gets discounted for being crazy, this villain woman. So I'm sort of like, it's a difficult one to explain. It's predictable and bland most of the time, and when it isn't that, it's creepy and weird. So it's a few creepy and weird moments, but not enough to really make it entertaining to watch for that respect. Most of it is just bland and predictable, and there's random morals shoved in there which make you just go, random sweetness shoved in there just because it's a Christmas special, so it has to have it in it. But most of it is really just silly filler. But to be fair, it's enough to keep, probably to keep me and a kid interested enough to watch it. They might not really be fascinated by it or want to watch it again, but you can watch it and you'll just be like, eh. That's kind of the result that you get. It's entertaining enough that you don't want to turn it off, but you wouldn't really actively want to watch it either. So that's my review of Abominable Christmas. And also there's a glorious derp, which I probably have a picture of that on this review as well. I'll show you it now, but yeah. But thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. This was a rather short one, wasn't it? It wasn't even 10 minutes. Well, there isn't much to say about it, really. You can find it on Kiss Video or something. You can find it on Google search on one of the first ones. You won't find it on YouTube because they protected it, but it's not really worth paying for, I don't think. But you know, if you really want to, you can pay them just to watch it. But I watched it on TV, so I technically did pay for it when I first watched it. I only watched it online to double check what it was, some of the facts, so I could reiterate the story. But yeah, it's kind of crap. I wouldn't recommend it, and it's got some really stupid moments in it. But thank you for watching. This is awesome. I'll see you again next time. See ya.